It's a scene that's becoming increasingly familiar in America. The line between policing and military action blurring. We are told it's for our own safety, a necessary step to combat a wave of crime. But what happens when the proposed solution looks more like a military occupation than community policing? A recent congressional hearing pulled back the curtain on this very conflict, revealing a deep divide between the operational demands of federal law enforcement and the concerns of a community trying to protect its identity. The central question is this: is deploying the National Guard to a major American city a brilliant tactical move, or a dangerous precedent that threatens the very fabric of civil society?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Patel, I believe you had primary importance in starting Operation Viper in Memphis. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Operation Viper brought in the FBI, the DEA, the ATF to help the Memphis police in policing the city.
That'll be phase two, sir. Phase one was FBI and local law enforcement in Memphis for the last few months.
Okay. You did a good job, and the police director and the mayor have told me that was been helpful, the FBI working with the police. And the FBI are trained in law enforcement. They know Miranda rights, they know how to do policing, and they do a good job working with the police. Do you think that the National Guard is necessary to do the work that the FBI is doing now?
Thank you. I do think it's necessary to finish it. What we've done is 500 arrests in Memphis and 110 federal indictments. But what we need to do is we've only secured a piece of where the criminal conduct is occurring in Memphis, and we can't work inside perimeters that are not established and safe, and we don't have the manpower to give us the space to fully go into the areas where the criminal activity remains.
Well, are you suggesting that the National Guard is going to go into the more heavily crime areas?
They're going to establish, like they did in Washington, D.C., perimeters where local law enforcement and the FBI, DEA, ATF, and U.S. Marshals can go into. We can't be going into all these areas knowing that they're extremely volatile and jeopardizing the safety of our agents.
Did the National Guard do anything in Washington to help the FBI stay safe from these dangerous elements?
They established perimeters.
Established perimeter, and the criminals knew about it, so they...
It was a visible force, sir, so they kind of saw it.
Well, what you did, I commend you for what you did, and I think the FBI coming in, we have a crime problem in Memphis. The FBI has helped, DEA will help, and the ATF will help. I don't think the National Guard is going to help, and what I've seen, they're not trained in law enforcement, are they?
No, sir.
And so that could be a problem. Who will direct the National Guard in Memphis? Will it be, will they have control over your agents?
No, sir, they won't.
Who will have control over your agents? You?
Well, the SAC and then ultimately the chain of command up to Washington, D.C. will control the FBI, but there's a task force that was put together that is going to be led by an interagency. The heads of U.S. Marshals, DEA, and FBI will be working together with DHS collectively on this.
Have you visited Memphis before?
Yes, sir, I have.
So you know how good a city it is.
I love Memphis.
A lot of us do. And Memphis is a great city, great history, civil rights museum. Might say something about slavery, but that was the history. It needs to be taught. Blues, Elvis.
Beale Street.
Beale Street, right, barbecue. And people should come. It's not a troubled city. We've got some crime, but it's not a troubled city. We're not troubled, and we love our city, and we hope that the National Guard doesn't come in and cause people to have questions about Memphis, because it's a city they should visit. Let me ask you this about, you said that the homicide rates are coming down to an all-time low?
In modern recorded U.S. history, yes,
When
sir.
does modern recorded history start?
I think the FBI, and I'll get back to you on this, has stats on that going back about 30 years, sir.
Okay, I was thinking back to Ozzie and Harriet, and I didn't think you could beat Ozzie and Harriet's time. Secondly, you mentioned the Epstein case. Did any of the women that were victims, and they came up here and had a press conference and all, did any of them contact your office and ask to give information?
To my knowledge, no, sir.
If they did, let me ask you first, is there a statute of limitations on sex crimes like that, with sex with a minor, rape?
The DOJ is the expert, but I do not believe there's a statute on that, limitations on that.
So if there's not a statute of limitations, should you not be interviewing those people who know who raped them and the names and the places and give you that information? That seems like that's a treasure trove of information, and it's a serious, serious, serious number of crimes.
Sir, I couldn't agree with you more. We've been very public about asking individuals to come forward with new information, and we would run out every single lead on that.
Well, I'm sure the women will come forward, especially today, to assure that they will get an opportunity, because that seems like something we ought to do. Mr. Driscoll, what was his reputation?
I can't comment on Mr. Driscoll's matter. It's an ongoing litigation.
Yeah, but his reputation you could tell us about.
I can't tell you about his reputation. His work has been laid out in that lawsuit.
How many of the FBI agents who worked on the January 6 case have been fired?
I don't have that number, sir.
Do you have a ballpark figure?
No, but I can tell you that individuals based on case assignments in the FBI that I have led have not been terminated for case assignments.
Thank you, sir. And come back to Memphis and you work with Kevin Kane in our tourism bureau.
This wasn't just a simple Q&A. It was a masterclass in political chess. Congressman Cohen's strategy was to build a narrative, piece by piece. He begins by praising the FBI's work in Memphis, establishing them as the competent, professionally trained heroes of the story. He gets Director Patel to agree that the FBI's Operation Viper has been helpful. This is a critical first move, as it frames the existing effort as a success. Only then does he introduce the National Guard, not as a helpful partner, but as an unqualified and unnecessary force. The contrast is deliberate and powerful. Trained law enforcement versus an untrained military unit. Director Patel's response is equally strategic. Notice how he carefully sidesteps the accusation that the Guard would be doing police work. He reframes their role entirely. They are not there to arrest people. They are there to establish perimeters. This is a crucial distinction. He is arguing that the Guard's function is purely logistical and supportive, designed to create a safe work environment for the real law enforcement agencies like the FBI, DEA, and ATF. He's painting a picture of a situation so volatile that even his highly trained agents can't operate safely without a military-style buffer zone. This justification, however, subtly reinforces the idea that parts of Memphis are effectively no-go zones for law enforcement, a narrative the congressman is desperately trying to avoid. To understand the weight of this discussion, you have to understand the deep-seated American principle of separating military from domestic law enforcement, largely codified in the Posse Comitatus Act. While there are exceptions, particularly for the National Guard acting under state authority, using soldiers for roles traditionally held by police is incredibly sensitive. It raises fundamental questions about civil liberties and the nature of policing. Cohen taps directly into this by highlighting the Guard's lack of police training. He's not just questioning their effectiveness, he's implying a risk of dangerous incompetence. Will they understand Miranda rights? Rules of engagement? De-escalation? The unspoken answer is no. This exchange brings three key themes to the surface. First, the conflict between optics and operations. The congressman is fighting to protect the image of his city, arguing that the visual of soldiers on the streets will define Memphis as troubled, hurting tourism, and civic pride. The director, on the other hand, is focused solely on operational security. The second theme is the battle over defining roles. Is the Guard providing security, or are they policing? The answer depends entirely on who you ask. Finally, the issue of accountability. Cohen's questions about who controls whom hint at the chaotic chain of command that can emerge when military and civilian agencies are forced to work together. This debate in Washington is not just about Memphis. It's a microcosm of a larger national trend, often referred to as the militarization of policing. For decades, we've seen law enforcement agencies adopt military-grade equipment, tactics, and even mindset. Deploying the National Guard is simply the most literal manifestation of this trend. Think of it like this. You hire a skilled surgeon, the FBI, to perform a delicate operation. But to guard the operating room, you bring in a construction crew, the National Guard. They are professionals in their own field, but they lack the specific training and understanding required for a sterile, high-stakes medical environment. The question the congressman is asking is whether this construction crew will actually help the surgeon, or if they will inadvertently cause a new, more dangerous infection. The concern is that a visible force, as the director called it, might not solve the crime problem, but simply push it into the neighboring blocks, all while eroding the fragile trust between the community and law enforcement. So, what are the key takeaways from all of this? First, deploying the National Guard for domestic law enforcement support is a deeply controversial act that blurs the sacred line between military and civilian authority. Second, this hearing revealed a fundamental conflict between the stated operational needs of federal agencies and the social, economic, and political concerns for a city's reputation. And third, the core of the disagreement rests on whether a military presence provides genuine safety or merely creates the illusion of it, potentially at the cost of community trust and an increased risk of dangerous escalation. This leaves us with a critical question for the future of American cities. Does a heavy military presence actually create safety? Or does it simply create the illusion of it while damaging a community's spirit and pride? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this analysis helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video.